Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the post show here at Connections on this beautiful Easter Sunday morning. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Just dandy.
I'm quite warm today.
Oh, it's warm in here.
Very
with the
warm.
light.
It is always warm
so
in this
warm in
room.
here.
Absolutely. Maybe the Easter egg will hatch. We'll have to wait and see. Anybody got any big Easter plans today?
My kid is itching for an Easter egg hunt.
Oh,
Which one?
Conrad.
I could have guessed that.
Yeah, he asked for it all day yesterday, and I wanted to do it. We probably should have because we could have done multiple, but I was like, let's just wait till tomorrow, right?
yep.
So
You have to actually hide the eggs yet.
yes, and we're the parents. And, my husband actually is the one who hides them, but every year we forget where at least one egg is.
Oh, always.
Every single year.
It's like required.
Yeah.
It's required. We
have it
do
down.
the same thing for our grandkids. We'll hide the Easter eggs, and we have these little plastic eggs, and we put like candy or
Yep.
change or something inside, right? And we hide them all over. And inevitably, sometime in the course of the summer, I'll be mowing, and like I'll hit something. Oh, there was
that
an egg we
Easter
didn't
egg.
find.
Okay, that was always the best though. There was 1 or 2 years where my mom put like dollar bills in all the eggs.
Oh.
Yeah.
And if we there was an egg left over, that was always the best. Like, oh my gosh, I just found $1 in the yard.
Yes.
Score.
Oh,
So
that's
I
fantastic.
loved finding eggs later in the
Yeah.
season.
Your mom is generous because we do like chocolate, so then it'll be melted.
Layla, this was not like a
Oh,
reoccurring
yes.
thing. This was like a one and done type deal. Like 1 year she was like, we're gonna do this. Most years
Yeah.
it was not money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did one a couple years ago. It was like, you know what? All this candy can't be really good for anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I bought these like little health mini bars that were all like lemon something, but they were yellow and they looked Eastery. So I bought a bunch of them and hid them everywhere.
How cruel.
What a disaster.
Yeah, good way to become the lame grandpa.
Oh man,
Yeah.
utterly lame grandpa. It's like, dude, they hated it. I'm like, I know, my bad. So this year, I went and bought candy. And then unbeknownst to me, my wife went and bought candy. So there is a ton of stuff.
You're making up for that year.
Jackpot, yeah.
Making up for that year. Absolutely. Got to do it. Got to do it. So anybody have like any crazy great Easter story? Don't you love it when you get asked questions like that? Like on the spot.
Yeah.
An Easter story that will make us either laugh hysterically or cry. Either one. Okay, well, here's my next question.
Well, hold on. Before we move on, do you have any crazy Easter
Yeah.
stories?
Yeah.
Save us.
This has been a crazy Easter for me.
Oh.
Do tell.
I'm living alone. I know what it's like to be a bachelor again now. Well, my wife is now living with her mom because her mom needs 24-hour care. Shelly is living with my son and his wife, and so it's just like today for Easter, it's like I'm going to go home to an empty house unless somebody out there invites me over for an Easter dinner. That's what I'm going to do. So kind of a weird Easter for me.
I think you would be welcomed at many people's houses.
Oh, that
You
is
come
so
and do
kind
an
of you
Easter
to
egg hunt
say.
with us.
Even if you don't mean it, that means a lot.
I mean
Thank you,
it.
Layla.
Maybe you'll find the egg that we never can find.
Honestly, what a that's. I mean, not great that like you're all alone, but that means that your family is like being an awesome family and showing up for their people and taking
man.
care of each other.
They-
and that's seriously such a blessing.
It is beyond my ability to even say the way everyone has stepped up
Yeah.
in order to be a part of a difficult life transition has been utterly amazing. We are blessed beyond imagination. So you are absolutely right on that.
Yeah,
one.
and like I don't know, your son doesn't have to take a family member in, and your
Nope.
wife doesn't have to go take care of her mom. Yet they're just being. It just shows so much selflessness.
Yeah. Yep. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Fortunately, they take after their mom. So they're doing quite well. Quite well. But you know what was strange? Yesterday was kind of a gloomy day, right? It was overcast most of the day. The temperature wasn't bad. And I'm there in my house all alone. You know what it helped me to feel? It helped me to feel what that Saturday must have been like in between the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. I mean, it's just something about thinking about how dismayed, maybe hopeless, disoriented, people must have felt who believed in Jesus and give their life for Jesus. And then it's like, he's dead, he's gone. And there was something healthy about being able to enter into a little bit of an emotional experience, because we know the end of the story. When they were living it, they didn't know what the end of the story was going to be.
That's
like.
exactly what I was going to say. Like, they had no idea the good that was going to come from that.
Yes. Which is why we call it Good Friday, because it's like somebody died and we call it Good Friday only because of what that death accomplished, to be sure. To be sure. Anybody here know anyone that ever had a near-death experience? Seriously.
Yeah. I've had a few. I was a pretty reckless teenager.
You mean you yourself had some?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
dude, that's crazy.
One was a drifting thing where we almost flipped the car at like 90, so we all would have just been goners. For
Oh,
sure.
wow.
And then the second one, when I was living in LA, I was walking home with my Indian food, and the club across the street from my apartments, I did not know was notorious for gang violence. So all these shots are going off as I'm trying to get inside with my food, and I'm just behind a car.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, like, where were you with God during those times?
I had a pretty good youth pastor my senior year, so like it wasn't like a completely abandoned thing, but I wasn't close with him.
Okay. Did you have
Yeah,
any
very
kind
much.
of confidence that if anything happened, you'd be okay? Or
I didn't really even think about it.
didn't think about it?
I was just like
Stay
ducking.
alive.
Yeah. I was just ducking. And I don't know. I'm almost glad I didn't think about it, because I just would have curled up and had the worst anxiety attack, and
Yeah.
it would have been terrible. But that's
So the adrenaline kind of kicks in, and you're just in survival mode. man.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
does it
I
take?
wasn't like in your sermon, like on the bed, like with hooked up to machines or anything. I was just, yeah,
You were just like, oh no, this is a scary situation for sure.
yeah. And it was very much like me and God at that time, where like it felt like I was me and God was separate from me, and we were both doing our own things.
Yeah. I think of a lot of us can relate to periods of time in our life exactly like that, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as you've all grown and matured, I mean, just, not just emotionally, but spiritually as well, how has your concept of the afterlife changed? Or has it? Like when you were a kid, how did you envision it? How did that morph as time went by for you?
I think how I envisioned it as a kid is still how I like to envision it now.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like it is that childlike faith, and I like to think of the things that make me happy being there, and knowing, the people that I've lost along the way being there, or the pets that I've lost along the way, and I'm excited. So excited to see what it's really like. I mean, I remember so much, like, there's just so many, like, visuals in my head, like,
Okay.
gold pathways, and, we'll see, right?
We'll see.
Like, endless amount of ice cream, or, probably won't be that way, but
No,
I
that's
think
cool.
it
So
just-
for you, it's almost like reunion
yeah.
with people and pets
Yeah.
that you really love that you can't wait to be with again.
Yeah, and it's like a overwhelming feeling of peace when I think about it. Like I don't know what that's like to have just not any care in the world, right?
Yeah.
I talk about it a lot. Like I am pretty high anxiety, and my brain is just always ticking. Like I just envision and feel, and it's kind of something that I try to think about as kind
Yeah.
of like a meditation exercise, is like stillness and light and love, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's hard to explain.
It is.
because I've never felt that.
But yeah, I feel something similar. So I'm
Yeah.
resonating with exactly what you're saying. How about you guys? Your idea or concept of heaven change any over the course of time?
Yeah, when I was a kid, so there's this live action Peter Pan film where they're like bouncing along the clouds and just like jumping. So like, I'm really hoping the floor
Is that the Robin Williams one?
No, that's Hook.
Oh, that's
I have
Hook.
seen
That's
that
right.
one though.
That's right.
That's an excellent movie.
Yeah. Very sad.
It is.
What the heck? Yeah. But yeah, I'm really hoping that the floor is just made of clouds. But also like now it's not something I stress out over. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be perfect, whatever it is. I think if I thought too hard about it, I'd get really anxious because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly praying for forgiveness, you know. I'm sure everyone is, but yeah, I'm not. Maybe I should be a little bit more concerned about it, but I'm just not right now.
That's such a good place to be in, though, of just having so much peace in God and just having all the faith and trust in the world in Him. That's such a good feeling to have.
It is. It's what is it that Philippians talk about? A peace that surpasses understanding.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe, and you really can't think of any reasons why other than God. He is why I have this calmness, even in the face of things I'm not really sure about and how they're going to work out.
So I have two things for this question. First one, when I was little, I was always imagining, and like, because I have a very creative brain, and I'm always
You certainly do.
I'm always thinking and like making things up in my head, and I would just like create all these things of what heaven would be like, and the colors and just everything. And the older I've gotten, the less I do that. The less I like imagine and think about what it's going to be, and I've just always had like a piece of I have no idea what it's going to look like, and I just have gone away from like the imagining and the thinking about it to just this like I don't know and I don't need to know, and have had that piece of just
And
like
that peace.
just being content with being human and not being able to know, and just trusting that it's
Yeah.
going to be perfect, and it's nothing that my human brain can even comprehend right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be
Wow.
good. So that's my first one. Second one, that's how I've always been, just had that peace, and like I haven't really like put much thought other than like I just have peace with it.
Yeah.
Except for this past week, that the devil has been
Interesting.
So interesting that we're talking about this today. But the devil's been hitting me pretty hard in a lot of different areas of my life in the past few months, and one of those things is like all of the trust and the peace that I've had in God. He's testing me and just like challenging me, and I'm thinking in ways that I haven't ever really thought before, and battling things with my faith that I haven't really battled before. And one of those things was with death, like an anxiety and a fear that I've never had before has hit me this week. Just because I've been talking about it a lot this week. I had my great grandma passed this past week. My grandpa, who passed years ago, it would have been his 70th birthday this week, and so we had like a big celebration
Yeah.
with like some family members. We had drinks and went through his old pictures and stuff, and it was really great. But there was just a handful of things this week where I'm like thinking about it, and the devil like latched onto that and was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna push this,
Yes.
and like take a knife and just kind of dig it in and make it hurt in ways that haven't happened before.
Yeah. How do you deal with times like that, Lexy?
That's a really good question. I have to like acknowledge what it is. Like, I know this is not me. I know this is not God. I know this is the devil trying to attack me.
Oh, that's big.
And like
Yeah.
just being able to address it and acknowledge that, I feel like it almost shows the devil like, I see what you're doing, and I'm going to put up a really good fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got goosebumps. That's really good.
And if he's attacking me, I let him attack me. And one thing that, as I've prayed this week, God just keeps reminding me is that there's going to be, like, I'm never going to escape storms in my life. They're always going to keep hitting me.
Yeah.
It's like the weather. It can be sunny, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be sunny. It's
Yeah.
going to rain. It's going to snow. Like, that is just part of life.
Yep.
And so God just has reminded me that you can be in a stormy season of your life, and you can still find the joy in it.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. That's good.
Yep.
Was it Paul said in Ephesians, he said, in spiritual warfare, it's just like having done all to stand. There's just something about standing there and going, okay, I can't escape this, but I can take it, but I will not give in because I at least know what's happening. That is profoundly powerful. Absolutely.
I would also just like be on the lookout for anything that you could possibly be learning through this, because like storms are very useful. Storms are very
trust
useful.
me, I know it. I know it.
Yeah. So in my life, anytime anything traumatic happens now, I'm just like, okay, what is there here to learn?
Yeah.
Because like, if it just sucks to suck, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, you just spiral in that and think like, my life is terrible. Everything's against me. All of my circumstances, all the people in my life, like nothing is good. And you just get stuck in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you have that just like learner's mindset of everything hard that I go through teaches me and makes me stronger, and it makes me more knowledgeable, and it makes me more empathetic for other people. Boom.
Wow.
Just talking about, losing family members or friends, because I too, and you know too.
Unfortunately, I know, yes.
Recently, my father passed away, and there's something about the weeks after you lose somebody where, at least for me, I have this extra intentional mindset around how I want to be remembered. And it's so interesting because there's actually been quite a bit of, I feel like, death that has occurred in my family for my age, although I am getting older. But like every time this happens, I'll be really intentional about leaning into how I want to be remembered. And then it fades. And then something will happen again. And it's like this cycle, and it just always makes me question why I let it fade. Or maybe it's just a matter of that it's just not at the forefront of my mind. But, just I say all this because just to piggyback off of what you're saying, like there is so much that can be positive when you look at it from a different perspective when you're going through stormy times.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that came to mind for me is just, how do I want to be remembered,
Wow.
That's something I've thought about like my entire life. Like the first time I ever heard like Martin Luther King's biography, I was like, whoa, people can be remembered? Like it was just that's something that's always been in my mind, and it gets very egotistical for me, of course. Like you can spiral in anything, but so where I'm at with it now is like it makes me readjust how I live my daily life, because like what I do right now in today is what people are going to remember. There's never going to be an event that I'm remembered for. There's never going to be a house that I buy that I'm remembered for. That's so like it helps me treat people better.
Yeah. What I find so profound about the insights each of you have shared is that you're not caught up and become a prisoner of that moment, that trauma, that difficulty, that trial, but somehow you've each developed this capacity to put yourself outside of it, look at it from a healthy Christian perspective, so you know how to respond in it. And those are powerful, mature, life-giving strategies that you guys have accomplished. As you've each talked about this peace, thinking about your afterlife, I'm curious, when for you was your relationship with God crystallized? When is it that you either got the assurance or that moment that you knew that because of what Jesus has done and your faith in him or commitment to him or however you want to describe it, because of that, it was going to be okay, even in the face of all the unknowns? Do you ever have a moment like that in your life?
I think what comes to mind for me is not one particular moment, but a lot of small moments
Okay.
of mainly sharing my testimony to others. I've shared it on the pre-show about how like I'm meant to be here.
Yeah.
There's a lot too much for today's post-show, but I'm supposed to be here
beautiful
for a
story.
reason.
Yeah.
And in every time that I've shared that, just saying it out loud, it just solidifies like my trust, right? I should not
Yeah.
be here. There were so many situations that occurred just like statistically and logically, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, and I just it's so telling to me. I don't like, how can I go on throughout this life not believing in Christ and in God and not trusting when I'm a walking miracle, you know? But I mean, at a young age, it was kind of hard to wrestle with. And then as I've gotten older, I think between that and my experience, especially at this church, my faith has just gotten stronger and stronger in my relationships with others at church. And it just continues to build up and gets more and more solidified. But it's lots of small moments for me.
Yeah. They kind of accumulate over
Yeah.
time to develop that confidence. Yeah.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
I'm going to try my best to sum up the story as quickly as possible because it's long. When I was in high school, dance was my life. I took every single class in my studio. I was dancing 5+ hours, 6 to 7 days a week. And it was my biggest passion, so that's why I was doing it. And I was told by all of my teachers, the whole industry, that like if you don't do everything and beyond, you're not making it in this industry. And you're not good enough, and you never will be. And so I was constantly craving more, seeking more, doing more. And I heard this voice in my head my senior year of high school that was saying, stop. Like something that you're passionate about is now turning into something that you are dreading going to, and there's something wrong with that. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, I think I want to drop dance. And like I said, I was on like every elite team at my studio. I was taking every single class they offered, and now I'm going cold turkey and cutting everything. And I think I ended up actually going through with this and doing it. And I was only taking, I want to say, like 2 classes after dropping everything, getting off of teams, going to like competitions, conventions, everything. Dropped it and was just taking 2 classes, 2 hours a week. And she's like, that's a really big change from, doing this
Seriously.
like your whole
Wow.
life. Is this like something you really want to commit to? Happy guitar playing, Matt.
Hey, Matt, if I'm not back in time, start preaching.
So she's like, I will support you, whatever you choose, but I need you to pray over this and just like really ask, is this, because I told her, I'm like, I think this is God telling me this. Like, I hear this voice in my head and I think it's God, but I didn't know, like, I didn't have that peace in him. I didn't know how to listen to him and how he spoke to me yet. And she's like, pray about it. And if, 2 weeks go by and you're still thinking this, then we're going to go through with it. And so I did. I prayed over it for weeks,
Wow.
was still feeling that way. So I went to go get coffee with the owner of my dance studio and told her I was quitting. She basically told me I was making the worst choice of my life, that I wasn't going to make it in the dance industry. So she was like trying to push me to like drop some and not all, and still be on like certain teams that I'd be gone most weekends and whatever. And I'm like, no, what I'm telling you is God, and this is coming from a Christian woman who I still love to this day, but her response in that moment was not what I needed, and it was just unhealthy. And this lady's telling me, like, you're making a bad choice. I don't listen. I go through with it because I am here. I'm listening to God in my head, right? And I went to a dance convention a couple weeks later after freshly dropping everything. And I go to this convention with all of the other dancers at my studio, with girls from all over the states. I think it was in Chicago or Detroit, one of the two. So I'm dancing with hundreds and hundreds of dancers that are all doing what I was doing. They're doing everything they can. They're spending all of their time, all of their money, all of their energy is getting poured into dance. And now I'm this girl who just shows up after dropping all of her classes, and I feel like this. I'm not good enough. I'm just not in anymore. I'm not going to go anywhere with dance. And God met me in that weekend. And he was like, we are totally shifting your mindset on dance. And this isn't something where, you're there to show that you're the best all the time. You're not there for anybody but you and me. And you do this because I gave you a gift and I gave you a passion and you dance for me. And so that weekend I showed up, not for anybody else, not trying to prove I was the best, but I showed up just dancing and praising God and saying, thank you for this gift that you've given me. And I want to use it for you. At the end of the weekend, they give away the senior scholarship. One person out of hundreds of dancers go home with this particular scholarship. I'm the dancer that goes home with that weekend.
Oh, no.
That gives me goosies.
Out of hundreds of dancers that are doing everything that I just dropped. And in that moment, I was like, holy crap. Like that was God.
Yeah.
Because I heard his voice. I listened to him. I obeyed him. And he blessed me through that.
Yeah.
And so since then, like, I have given all of my trust and all of my peace comes from him, because that's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. I was not expecting to go home with that weekend. Yeah.
When we experience something that is what we believed conceptually, what we hope is true, but then we experience it, it changes us. I mean, it's so easy to know things about God. You know, God is good, God has a plan for your life, but every time you tell your story, Layla, it's like you re-experience that these aren't just words.
Yep.
These aren't pretty concepts that we throw out there for people to feel better. They're real. When you reorient your life around something that matters to you greatly, but now it's about Jesus, following his voice, and then you experience his blessing, that experience drives those truths home in a way that just change us profoundly. Those are just beautiful, beautiful stories. I grew up in a legalistic, in many ways traditional home, and it's interesting that my concept of heaven was that it was uber boring but beat hell. Right? So, you know, clouds, harps.
You thought of it as boring?
Oh man, I thought of it as uber boring, because it was like, heaven is like being at church all the time. And I looked at the church I was going to and I went, oh, this is horrible. But it beats suffering and torment, right? So whatever, I guess that is better. But there was also a part of me that was like, I am like so not good enough to ever get there. And it was one evening service, Baptist church, didn't know what the pastor preached about. We were singing some invitation song at the end, and it was this deep realization that I was guilty before God and there was nothing I could do about it. And I remember just in my heart, I cried out, God, save me. And in that moment, it was almost tangible for me. In that moment, it's like this, all of my guilt and stress was gone. And there was this assurance, I'm God's child. I'm forgiven. I'm going to heaven. That was overwhelming in that moment for me. And it was that experience of abandoning hope in all but Jesus alone. And what transpired to me when that happened, that has kept me in times when I have doubted my faith significantly. I can relate to exactly the kind of week that you've had. Because
It's more like a year for me.
Yeah, it can be a long time for sure. But God is not just an idea. He's not just a philosophy. He's not a set of doctrines or beliefs.
Right.
He's a person.
Right.
And he wants us to experience who he is. And when we do, it changes everything.
Right.
And it's certainly our prayer that those that are listening, that they experience that life, that reality, that love of God by putting their hope in him and in him alone.
Yep.
Well, this has been fun. And as I'm hearing the music going, it's like I should probably go get ready.
Yes.
You got 2 more services.
I've got 2 more services. All right, we're halfway done with the morning, so been good so far.
Yes.
Anyway, Lexy, Layla, other way around. Thanks for joining us this morning. I love you
Thank
guys. You
you.
mean a lot. And we love all of you too. May you experience the love and power of the resurrected Jesus.
Bye, guys.
Bye.